The day Earth had been waiting for finally arrived. It was a warm summer morning when the huge alien ship appeared in the sky over New York City. People stopped in their tracks, mouths open, as they looked up at the massive craft hovering silently above the skyscrapers. Sarah Chen, a young scientist working at the United Nations, was one of the first to see it. She had been walking to work, coffee in hand, when the shadow fell over the street. At first, she thought it was a cloud. But when she looked up, her coffee slipped from her fingers and splashed on the sidewalk. "Oh my God," she whispered, her eyes wide. All around her, people were pointing and shouting. Some ran for cover, while others pulled out their phones to take pictures. Car horns blared as traffic came to a sudden stop. Within hours, the world's leaders had gathered at the UN. Sarah found herself in a room full of important people, all arguing about what to do. Should they try to communicate? Should they attack? No one could agree. Finally, they didn't have to make a decision. The aliens made the first move. A beam of blue light shot down from the ship, and a group of strange beings appeared in front of the UN building. They were tall and slender, with skin that shimmered like mother of pearl. Their eyes were large and completely black, and they had no visible mouths. Sarah watched from a window as the alien leader stepped forward. Suddenly, a voice echoed in her head, and from the reactions of those around her, she knew everyone else could hear it too. "Greetings, humans," the voice said. "We are the Galactic Federation. We have come to welcome you to the greater community of spacefaring races." There was a moment of stunned silence. Then cheers erupted from the crowds that had gathered. People hugged each other, crying with joy and relief. The aliens weren't here to invade. They were here to make friends. Over the next few days, the aliens, who called themselves the Zarkoni, shared amazing technology with Earth's scientists. They showed them how to cure diseases, how to clean up pollution, and even how to build ships that could travel faster than light. Sarah was thrilled. As a scientist, this was like a dream come true. She spent hours talking with the Zarkoni, learning about their advanced science. But as the days went by, she started to notice something. The Zarkoni were always polite, but they often seemed amused, like adults talking to small children. One day, she overheard two Zarkoni talking. They didn't know she could understand their language. She had always been good with languages, and had picked up theirs quickly. "These humans," one said, "they're so excited by the simplest things. It's almost cute." "I know," the other replied. "Did you see how amazed they were by the food replicator? As if it's some kind of magic." Sarah felt her cheeks grow hot. She didn't like the way they were talking about humans. Things got worse when the Zarkoni invited Earth to join the Galactic Federation. The human leaders were excited, but when they arrived at the big meeting, they found out the truth. Humans were being offered the lowest status in the Federation. They would be allowed to trade with other races and travel in space, but they wouldn't get a vote in important decisions. They were seen as too primitive, too new to space travel. But that's not fair. Sarah protested when she heard the news. "We may be new to space, but humans have a lot to offer." The Zarkoni leader looked at her with what seemed like pity. "Young one," the voice said in her head, "you simply don't understand how far behind you are. Your race is, well, the word in your language would be pathetic. But don't worry. In a few thousand years, you might catch up." Sarah felt like she had been slapped. She looked around at the other humans. Some looked angry, others looked defeated. But in that moment, Sarah made a decision. "We'll show them," she thought. "Somehow, we'll prove that humans are worth more than they think. We're not pathetic. And one day, they'll see just how powerful we can be." As she walked out of the meeting room, Sarah's mind was already racing with ideas. The journey from pathetic to powerful would be a long one, but humans were used to beating the odds. And Sarah was determined to lead the way. 5 years had passed since the Zarkoni arrived on Earth. The world had changed a lot. Sleek alien ships now flew alongside airplanes in the sky. Strange plants from other worlds grew in parks, and humans had started to travel to other planets. But not everything was good. Humans quickly learned that being part of the Galactic Federation wasn't as fun as they had hoped. Sarah Chen sighed as she walked through the busy spaceport. She was now a respected scientist, working on ways to improve Earth's technology. But every day, she saw how badly aliens treated humans. A group of tall, blue-skinned aliens pushed past her, not even looking down. "Watch it, primitive," one of them growled. Sarah bit her lip to keep from saying something angry. This kind of thing happened all the time. Humans were seen as dumb and weak by most alien races. She made her way to her lab, where her team was waiting. They were working on a secret project, trying to understand alien tech better than the aliens thought they could. "Any progress?" Sarah asked as she walked in. Her friend Mike looked up from a strange, glowing device. "Maybe," he said. "I think I've figured out how this power cell works. But every time I think I've got it, something new pops up." Sarah nodded. That was how it always went. They'd make a little progress, then hit a wall. The aliens' tech was just so advanced. Just then, Sarah's communicator beeped. It was a message from the Galactic Federation. There was going to be a big meeting, and all races were invited, even humans. "We should go," Sarah told her team. "Maybe we can learn something." The next day, Sarah and her team took a ship to the Federation's main station. It was a huge place, like a city floating in space. Aliens of all shapes and sizes bustled about. The meeting was held in a massive room. Humans were seated at the very back, far from the important alien leaders at the front. As the meeting went on, Sarah felt more and more frustrated. The aliens talked about amazing discoveries and inventions, but when humans tried to speak up, they were ignored. During a break, Sarah overheard two aliens talking. They looked like giant insects with shiny green shells. "Did you see that human try to explain quantum mechanics?" One buzzed. It was like watching a caveman try to build a spaceship. The other alien clicked its mandibles in what sounded like laughter. "I know. They're so primitive. I bet they'll never understand even basic galactic science." Sarah felt her face get hot with anger. She wanted to shout at them, to tell them how wrong they were, but she knew they wouldn't listen. As she walked back to her seat, Sarah bumped into someone. She looked up to see a Zarkoni, its pearl-like skin shimmering. "Oh, excuse me," Sarah said quickly. The Zarkoni looked down at her. "No harm done, little one," it said in her mind. Its tone was kind, but Sarah could hear the condescension in it, like an adult talking to a small child. Back in the meeting, Sarah found it hard to focus. She kept thinking about how the aliens saw humans. In their eyes, humans were just silly primitives, barely smart enough to tie their own shoes. But Sarah knew better. Humans had come so far in just a few years. They were learning and adapting faster than any other race in the Federation. The aliens just couldn't see it. As the meeting ended, Sarah made a decision. She gathered her team around her. "We need to work harder," she told them. "We need to show these aliens what humans can really do." Mike nodded. "But how? They don't even take us seriously." Sarah smiled. "Then we'll make them take us seriously. We'll learn their tech, improve it, and create things they've never even dreamed of." The team looked excited. They were tired of being looked down on, tired of being treated like they were stupid. "It won't be easy," Sarah warned. "We'll have to work in secret. If the aliens find out what we're doing, they might try to stop us." But everyone agreed. They were ready to prove that humans weren't pathetic. They were ready to show the galaxy just how powerful humans could be. As they left the station, heading back to Earth, Sarah felt a spark of hope. The aliens might underestimate humans now, but that would be their biggest mistake. Because when humans set their minds to something, nothing could stop them. The journey from underestimated to unstoppable had begun. Months passed as Sarah and her team worked tirelessly in their secret lab. They studied alien technology day and night, trying to understand its inner workings, Progress was slow, but they didn't give up. One day, as Sarah was examining a Zarkoni energy device, something strange happened. She yawned, feeling tired after hours of work. Suddenly, the device lit up brightly. Sarah blinked in surprise. "Did anyone see that?" she asked her team. Mike looked up from his computer. "See what?" Sarah frowned. "The device. It reacted when I yawned." Her colleagues looked skeptical, but Sarah knew what she had seen. She tried yawning again, but nothing happened. Puzzled, she decided to investigate further. Over the next few weeks, Sarah noticed more odd occurrences. Sometimes, when she spoke or sang while working with alien tech, strange things would happen. Lights would flicker, or machines would briefly activate. At first, she thought she was imagining things, but as the incidents kept happening, she became convinced there was a pattern. One night, while everyone else had gone home, Sarah stayed late in the lab. She stood in front of a row of alien devices and started to hum softly. To her amazement, one by one, the devices began to power on. The louder she hummed, the more they reacted. When she stopped, they went quiet again. Excited, Sarah called her team for an emergency meeting the next morning. "I found something incredible," she told them, her eyes shining with excitement. "Our voices can interact with alien technology." Her team looked confused. Mike raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean, our voices?" Sarah explained what she had discovered. At first, her colleagues were doubtful, but when she demonstrated making a Zarkoni communicator activate with just her voice, they were amazed. "How is this possible?" asked Lena, another scientist on the team. Sarah shook her head. "I'm not sure yet, but I have a theory." She pulled up some data on a screen. "Look at these readings. They show the energy patterns of human speech. Now look at this." She switched to another image. "This is the energy signature of Zarkoni technology." The team leaned in, studying the patterns. Slowly, their eyes widened as they saw what Sarah had noticed. "They're similar," Mike said in awe. Sarah nodded. "Exactly. Somehow, the sound waves produced by human voices resonate with the energy fields used in alien tech. It's like we're speaking their language on a physical level." The implications of this discovery were huge. If humans could control alien technology with their voices, it could change everything. "We need to test this more," Sarah said. "We need to see exactly what we can do." Over the next few weeks, the team conducted experiment after experiment. They found that different sounds could produce different effects. A low hum might activate a device, while a high-pitched note could turn it off. They also discovered that some people had a stronger effect than others. Sarah's voice seemed to be particularly powerful, able to control even complex machines. As they learned more, the excitement in the lab grew. This could be the breakthrough they had been hoping for. "Just think," Mike said one day, his eyes gleaming. "We could operate alien ships, use their weapons, maybe even improve their tech. The aliens wouldn't be able to look down on us anymore." But Sarah was cautious. "We need to be careful," she warned. "If the aliens find out about this, they might see it as a threat. We need to keep it secret until we fully understand it." The team agreed. They swore to keep their discovery hidden, even from other humans. For now, only they would know about the incredible power of the human voice. As Sarah left the lab that night, her mind was racing with possibilities. They had started this project hoping to prove that humans weren't pathetic. Now they had stumbled upon something that could make humans one of the most powerful races in the galaxy. But with great power comes great responsibility. Sarah knew that how they used this discovery would shape the future of humanity in the stars. As she looked up at the night sky, filled with alien ships and distant worlds, Sarah felt a mix of excitement and fear. The human race was about to change forever, and she was at the center of it all. With their amazing discovery, Sarah and her team knew they had to act fast. They needed to understand this new power and learn how to use it properly. But they also had to keep it a secret from the aliens. They turned their lab into a training ground. Every day, they practiced using their voices to control alien technology. It was hard work, but exciting too. Sarah stood in front of a Zarkoni energy shield. She took a deep breath and let out a long, low note. The shield flickered to life, creating a shimmering wall of light. "Great job, Sarah." Mike cheered. He was watching her progress on a computer screen. The energy output is higher than ever. Sarah smiled, but she wasn't satisfied yet. "It's good, but not good enough," she said. "We need to do better." As the days went by, they made more progress. They found that certain words and sounds worked better than others. Some made machines turn on, while others made them work faster or slower. Lena, who loved to sing, discovered that melodies could create complex patterns in energy fields. "It's like we're composing music for the machines," she said with a laugh. But the biggest breakthrough came when they started working together. They found that when they combined their voices, the effect was much stronger. One day, as an experiment, the whole team stood around a broken alien ship engine. On Sarah's signal, they all started to hum in harmony. The engine, which hadn't worked in years, suddenly roared to life. The sound was so loud that they had to cover their ears. When they stopped humming, the engine went quiet again. The team looked at each other in amazement. "Did you see that?" Mike said, his eyes wide. "We didn't just turn it on. We made it work better than when it was new." Sarah nodded, her mind racing with possibilities. "This is it," she said. "This is how we can prove ourselves to the aliens." But as their power grew, so did the risks. They had to be very careful not to let anyone find out what they were doing. One day, a group of Zarkoni came to inspect the lab. Sarah and her team were nervous, but they managed to hide their work. The aliens looked around, not knowing that the humans they thought were so primitive could now control their technology with just their voices. After the Zarkoni left, Sarah gathered her team. "We need to take this to the next level," she said. "It's time to create our Battlecry." The idea was to create a special sound that they could all make together. It would be powerful enough to control even the most advanced alien technology. They worked on it for weeks, trying different combinations of sounds. Sometimes it was frustrating. Their attempts would fail, or worse, cause machines to break down. But they didn't give up. They knew this could change everything for humanity. Finally, after many long nights and failed attempts, they found it. The perfect combination of sounds that, when made together, created an incredibly powerful effect. They called it the human Battlecry. When they used it for the first time, the results were amazing. Every piece of alien tech in the lab activated at once. Energy fields pulsed, machines whirred to life, and screens lit up with complex data. For a moment, the team just stood there, stunned by what they had done. Then Mike started to laugh. "We did it," he shouted. "We actually did it." The team hugged each other, their faces glowing with pride and excitement. But Sarah knew their work wasn't over. "This is just the beginning," she told them. "Now we need to train others. Every human needs to learn this." They all nodded, understanding the importance of what they had to do. As they left the lab that night, Sarah felt a mix of emotions. She was proud of what they had achieved, but also worried about what might happen next. They had created something powerful, something that could change the balance of power in the galaxy. But would it be enough to earn humanity the respect they deserved? Or would it lead to new dangers? Sarah looked up at the stars, shining brightly in the night sky. Whatever happened next, she knew one thing for sure. The human race would never be called pathetic again. As Sarah and her team worked to spread their knowledge of the human Battlecry, something terrible was happening in a far corner of the galaxy. A new alien race had appeared. They were called the Vorax, and they were unlike anything the Galactic Federation had ever seen before. The Vorax were giant creatures that looked like a mix between spiders and machines. They had 8 long metal legs and bodies covered in hard black armor. The Vorax didn't want to talk or make friends. They only wanted to conquer. They attacked planet after planet, destroying everything in their path. At first, the news didn't reach Earth. The Galactic Federation tried to keep it secret, thinking they could handle the problem on their own. But they were wrong. The Zarkoni and other advanced races sent their best ships and weapons to fight the Vorax. But nothing seemed to work. The Vorax ships were too strong, their weapons too powerful. One day, as Sarah was teaching a group of humans how to use the Battlecry, she got an urgent message. It was from a Zarkoni she had become friends with, a scientist named Zalarin. "Sarah, we need help." Zalarin's voice said in her mind. "The Federation is under attack. Our weapons are useless against the Vorax. We don't know what to do." Sarah was shocked. She had never heard a Zarkoni sound scared before. She quickly gathered her team and told them what was happening. "This is serious," she said. "If the Zarkoni can't stop these Vorax, Earth could be in danger too." "Should we tell them about the Battlecry?" Mike asked. Sarah thought hard. They had kept their powers secret for so long. But now it might be the only thing that could save the galaxy. "Yes," she said finally. "It's time to show the aliens what humans can really do." Sarah contacted Zalarin and told him that humans might have a way to help. At first, the Zarkoni didn't believe her. How could primitive humans have a weapon that could defeat the Vorax when all of the advanced races had failed? But as the Vorax got closer and closer to the core worlds of the Federation, the aliens became desperate. They agreed to let Sarah and her team try. The Zarkoni sent a ship to Earth to pick up Sarah and a group of trained humans. As they flew towards the battle, Sarah could see the fear on the faces of the alien crew. They didn't have much hope left. When they arrived at the battle zone, Sarah gasped. The space around them was filled with the wreckage of destroyed ships. In the distance, she could see the Vorax fleet. Their ships were huge and black, shaped like giant spiders. A Zarkoni commander approached Sarah. "Human," he said, his mental voice full of doubt. "Whatever you're planning, do it quickly. We can't hold them off much longer." Sarah nodded. She turned to her team and the other trained humans. "Remember your training," she said. "Focus on the sound. Feel the energy. We can do this." They all moved to the front of the ship, facing the view screen that showed the approaching Vorax. Sarah took a deep breath and began the Battlecry. At first, it was just her voice, a strange mix of humming and chanting. Then, one by one, the other humans joined in. Their voices blended together, growing stronger and stronger. The aliens on the ship watched in amazement as the humans' voices started to affect their technology. Screens flickered, energy levels rose, and weapon systems powered up beyond their normal limits. But Sarah knew they needed to do more than just power up their own ship. They needed to stop the Vorax. She focused all her energy on the Battlecry, pushing her voice to its limits. The other humans followed her lead, their combined voices rising to a powerful crescendo. Suddenly, a wave of energy burst from their ship, spreading out towards the Vorax fleet. As it hit the enemy ships, something incredible happened. The Vorax ships started to falter. Their weapons stopped firing, and some of the ships began to drift aimlessly in space. The Zarkoni commander couldn't believe his eyes. "It's working," he said in awe. "By the stars, it's actually working." But the battle wasn't over yet. The largest Vorax ship, probably their flagship, was still coming towards them. Sarah knew they had to stop it, or all would be lost. She looked at her team, determination in her eyes. "One more time," she said. "Give it everything you've got." As the Vorax flagship loomed closer, the humans began their Battlecry once more, putting every ounce of their strength into it. The fate of the galaxy hung in the balance. The huge Vorax flagship was getting closer and closer. It looked like a giant metal spider, with long, sharp legs sticking out from all sides. Its weapons were much bigger and scarier than those on the smaller ships. Sarah and her team stood at the front of the Zarkoni ship. They were tired from using the Battlecry, but they knew they had to try one more time. The whole galaxy was counting on them. "Ready?" Sarah asked, looking at each member of her team. They all nodded, determination in their eyes. Sarah took a deep breath and started the Battlecry. Her voice was low and strong, like a deep drum. One by one, the other humans joined in. Their voices mixed together, creating a sound that was both beautiful and powerful. As they sang, strange things began to happen on the ship. Lights flickered and glowed brighter than before. The ship's engines hummed louder. Even the air seemed to vibrate with energy. The Zarkoni crew watched in amazement. They had never seen anything like this before. The commander's eyes were wide as he stared at the humans. Suddenly, a bright beam of energy shot out from the Zarkoni ship. It was much stronger than any weapon the aliens had used before. The beam hit the Vorax flagship, making it shake. But the Vorax ship was tough. It fired back, sending a barrage of deadly missiles towards the Zarkoni ship. Brace for impact. The Zarkoni commander yelled in everyone's minds. Sarah and her team didn't stop their Battlecry. Instead, they sang even louder. As the missiles got closer, something incredible happened. They started to slow down, then stop completely. Then, to everyone's surprise, the missiles turned around and flew back towards the Vorax ship. The Vorax flagship was hit by its own weapons. Explosions rocked the massive ship, and parts of it began to break apart. But it still wasn't enough. The Vorax ship, although damaged, was preparing to fire its main weapon. If that hit them, it would all be over. Sarah knew they had to do something different. She remembered how they had discovered that different sounds could do different things. Maybe they needed to change their Battlecry. She caught Mike's eye and nodded. He understood immediately. Slowly, they began to change the sound of the Battlecry. The others followed their lead. The new sound was higher, almost like a whistle. It grew louder and louder until it was so high that the humans could barely hear it anymore. Suddenly, all the screens on the Zarkoni ship went crazy. They showed energy readings that were off the charts. The Zarkoni crew looked scared, not understanding what was happening. But Sarah and her team kept going. They could feel the energy building up around them, like a giant wave about to break. Then, all at once, it happened. A massive burst of energy exploded from their ship. It was so bright that everyone had to close their eyes. When they opened them again, they couldn't believe what they saw. The Vorax flagship was breaking apart. Its metal legs were twisting and bending. Huge cracks appeared in its body. Then, with a final groan of metal, the massive ship split in two. The remaining Vorax ships, seeing their leader destroyed, turned and fled. They disappeared into the darkness of space, leaving behind only the wreckage of their defeat. For a moment, there was complete silence on the Zarkoni ship. No one could quite believe what had just happened. Then, slowly, the Zarkoni crew began to cheer. They hugged each other and jumped up and down with joy. Some of them even hugged the humans, all thoughts of them being primitive forgotten. The Zarkoni commander approached Sarah, his eyes shining with respect. "Human," he said in her mind, "you have saved us all. How can we ever thank you?" Sarah smiled, feeling proud but also very, very tired. "You can start by never calling us pathetic again," she said. The commander nodded solemnly. "After what I've seen today," he said, "I don't think anyone will ever make that mistake again." As the ship turned to head back to the core worlds, Sarah looked out at the stars. She thought about how far humans had come, from being looked down on to saving the entire galaxy. But she also knew that this was just the beginning. Now that the secret of the human Battlecry was out, everything would change. Humans would have a new place in the galaxy, with new responsibilities and challenges. Sarah smiled to herself. Whatever came next, she knew one thing for sure. Humanity was ready for it. The news of the human victory over the Vorax spread quickly across the galaxy, everywhere. Aliens were talking about the amazing power of the human Battlecry. The same humans they had once called pathetic were now being hailed as heroes. When Sarah and her team returned to Earth, they were greeted with cheers and celebration. People from all over the world wanted to learn about the Battlecry and how to use it. But with their new fame came new responsibilities. The Galactic Federation called for an emergency meeting, and this time, humans were given a seat at the main table. Sarah stood before the gathered alien leaders, feeling nervous but proud. She explained how they had discovered the power of human voices and developed the Battlecry. The aliens listened with amazement. When Sarah finished speaking, there was a moment of silence. Then, one by one, the alien leaders stood up and bowed to her. It was a sign of deep respect in galactic culture. The Zarkoni leader spoke first. "We owe you a great apology," he said, his mental voice filled with regret. "We judged your species too quickly and too harshly. You have proven that there is much more to being advanced than just technology." Other leaders agreed. They praised the humans for their creativity, determination, and bravery. The leader of a race called the Cax, who looked like talking trees, said, "Perhaps it is we who have been primitive, unable to see the potential in others." The meeting ended with a big decision. Humans would be given full membership in the Galactic Federation, with all the rights and responsibilities that came with it. As Sarah left the meeting, she felt both happy and worried. Humans had finally gained the respect they deserved, but she knew that things wouldn't be easy from now on. Over the next few months, big changes happened. Alien teachers came to Earth to help humans learn more about galactic science and culture. At the same time, human teachers went to other planets to teach about the Battlecry. Sarah and her team were busier than ever. They traveled around Earth and to other worlds, helping to set up schools where people could learn to use their voices to control technology. One day, as Sarah was teaching a class of young aliens, a small Zarkoni child asked her a question. "Teacher Sarah," the child's voice said in her mind, "why didn't humans tell us about the Battlecry before?" Sarah thought carefully before answering. "Sometimes," she said, "when people think you're not good enough, it's hard to show them what you can really do. We needed to believe in ourselves first." The child nodded, seeming to understand. "I'm glad you believed in yourselves," it said. "You saved us all." As time passed, the galaxy began to change. The ability to control technology with sound spread to other races. Some found they could do it too, though not as well as humans. Others created new technologies based on the idea. The threat of the Vorax wasn't gone completely. Sometimes their ships would appear at the edges of Federation space. But now, with the power of the Battlecry and the united strength of all races, they were always driven back. Humans continued to surprise their alien neighbors. They used the Battlecry not just for defense, but for art, for healing, and for exploring the universe in new ways. One evening, 5 years after the battle with the Vorax, Sarah stood on the balcony of the new human embassy on the Galactic Federation's capital world. She looked out at the alien city, with its strange buildings and many different species walking together in the streets. Mike joined her, grinning. "Can you believe how far we've come?" he asked. Sarah smiled and shook her head. "Sometimes I still think I'm dreaming," she said, "from being looked down onto this." They stood in comfortable silence for a while, watching the 3 moons rise in the alien sky. "You know," Mike said finally, "I've been thinking. Maybe we should change the name." "Change what name?" Sarah asked, curious. "The Battlecry," Mike said. "It served its purpose, but we're not just fighting anymore. We're building, creating, exploring. Maybe we should call it something else now." Ing of hope for all species, a new era had begun, and humanity was ready to play its part. Sarah thought about it. She remembered how it all started, with her yawning in the lab. She thought about all they had learned, all they had accomplished. And she thought about the future, full of possibilities they hadn't even imagined yet. "You're right," she said at last. "How about the human harmony?" Mike grinned. "I like it," he said. "The human harmony has a nice ring to it." As they turned to go back inside, Sarah took one last look at the alien city. She thought about how humans had gone from being seen as pathetic to becoming a vital part of the galactic community. It hadn't been easy, and there would be more challenges ahead. But Sarah knew that whatever came next, humans would face it with courage, creativity, and the power of their voices. The human harmony would ring out across the stars, not as a cry of battle, but as a so.